I don't even know, bro. You know, this is my first time. I haven't been in the playoffs, man. So, I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, or if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but you know, at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for, you know, for my career and, you know, what's best. Because I'm too much of a competitor to be, you know, just out there.
Mean you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, yeah.
Miami! To mission control, we have liftoff. Phinhub! Phinhub! We talking Dolphins City! Phinhub! Yeah! It's that Dolphins show! Phinhub!
Welcome to the Phinhub Show, the one NFL podcast you can't leave off your roster. Now here's your host, Joey and Kevin Tejido.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Phinhub Show, powered by BetUS. If you haven't already, make sure to check out BetUS and use code YouTube150 for 150% bonus on your first deposit. The next two deposits will be for 125% bonuses, so make sure to check out BetUS and get started on BetUS today. So things with Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins seem to be on the mend, with Tyreek Hill lately posting a lot about the Miami Dolphins on his Snapchat, also changing his profile picture on Twitter back to him in a Miami Dolphins jersey. Things seem to be a little bit better with him and the Miami Dolphins, but still, there is some chatter that the Miami Dolphins could be moving Tyreek Hill this summer. What do you think about that?
I think this conversation's only being had because he did come out right after that Jets loss, and he was obviously very disappointed. You know, I took from it from the beginning, you know, obviously I was angry as a Dolphins fan, but also I can tell that, you know, these things are basically, it's in the spur of the moment. It's like a thing, like I'm pissed off, you're talking to me. It's like, it's fresh. It's like, it's a fresh cut. It's just spewing out, you know what I'm saying? But after a little bit of him talking to, you know, the Dolphins organization, Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer, I'm pretty sure that was never really a serious thought of his. But yeah, as far as the situation, it would have never happened. I don't even think we'd be talking about this much if it wasn't for him saying that. So, do I think that there's going to be a trade or anything like that? I mean, at this point, he opened up the door. He really did. Because now the Dolphins are like, how committed are you to this team? Are you going to have another tantrum? At the end of the day, you have all these off-field issues that are a distraction, and now you're starting to become maybe a distraction in the locker room, on the team. You know what I'm saying? Taking yourself out of a game. I get it. You know, it's late in the season. You're not playing for anything anymore. Looking up at the scoreboard, seeing that Denver is blowing out the Chiefs, which the Chiefs didn't do us a solid there. You know what I'm saying? They just... Yeah. And you know, that kind of goes to show. I feel like with that Jets game, just a little quick side note, I feel like we only lost because we probably felt like the season was over. I think maybe things would have played out a little bit different. I'm not saying guys weren't out there trying to win, but, you know, Tyreek Hill wouldn't have pulled himself from the game. Maybe there would have been a lot more effort. So, but yeah, getting back into the Tyreek Hill thing, yeah, I mean, what do you have to say? Like, what do you think about the situation?
Well, to be honest, I think there's a few things to consider here. There was an idea that Tyreek Hill could be moved from the team even before he said anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's more so because we've seen what this team, I feel like we've almost like capped out.
Yeah.
You know, and we're paying two number one wide receivers right now in Tyreek and Waddle. You also just paid Tua the big money, you know, to be your franchise quarterback. And that's a lot of money on three guys. And we've seen what that looks like, and it's been great when they're healthy. But the fact of the matter is not that Tyreek Hill has an issue staying on the field, but he's had an issue at least the last two seasons staying 100% healthy. Mm-hmm. And we know what Tua, his injury history is like. Waddle's had trouble staying in the lineup. So to be paying three guys that much money for them to be inconsistently out there for you on Sunday, that's a lot to take in. So I think that there was a possibility of maybe even moving or seeing what the team could look like without Tyreek Hill, where you could spend that $30 million a year elsewhere. Could it be, distributed through the offensive line? Could it be distributed maybe on the defensive line? There's so many things that the Miami Dolphins, so many holes the Miami Dolphins have to be spending that much money on 3 players. And I think that was a real question before Tyreek Hill even opened his mouth. Now that Tyreek Hill you're right, he has opened up that door completely. Mm-hmm. And I do think that he's withdrawn, something that we've seen from him on social media. He's kind of taken a step back, and he's trying to go back into Miami Dolphins fans' good graces. A lot of Miami Dolphins fans are upset with the situation. I'm sure a lot of teammates of his are very upset with Tyreek Hill quitting on them. There's a lot to be said about that. And I don't know. I think the Dolphins are looking into it. I think Tyreek Hill is obviously, while maybe he's taken a step back, he's still interested in the possibility of what it would be like to be on a team like that's consistently getting to the playoffs and not through wild card. Like the Ravens, like the Bills, the Chiefs even. Yeah. But I don't know. I think the Dolphins are looking at this thinking also, because there's not having Tyreek Hill, and then what's the return on Tyreek Hill? Yeah. Is it going to be a 3rd-round pick? Because that sucks.
It's not going to be anything crazy, to be honest with you.
And then, obviously,
they're going to take advantage of the situation, whoever's trying to trade for Tyreek.
And you don't want to trade him to an AFC team. You don't want to trade him to the Chargers. You don't want to trade him to the Bills. You don't want to trade him to the Ravens or even back to the Chiefs. These are guys that you're competing with the entire year. And then to see him on the other side, and he's gonna continue being a good player no matter where he goes.
He's a great player no matter what. It was a bad season. I mean, just in general, not having your quarterback for one is just huge. 6 games, right? 6 games of no Tua throwing a Tyreek. I mean, you see the instant connection when he's back on the field, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so all in all, I think that the Dolphins do need to try to make it work out with Tyreek, even though it's a huge cap hit on those 3 players. They didn't make it work out with them. They need to find a way to keep Tua upright. Tua needs to get rid of the idea of even running. Just throw the ball away. If you have to run, you have to slide. Don't go head first like he's been doing. It's absolutely insane. He has to train himself. He needs to go back to fat Tua, like people have been saying. I think that's the way to go, and hopefully you can build the line on both sides of the ball through the draft, and I think that's the best route to go with this.
Well, I think there were a lot more questions. Like, okay, so the offseason last year when we had Christian Wilkins and Rob Hunt, basically both free agents. Those were huge questions. Do we re-sign them? I think the Dolphins were looking past that this year, and they were looking to this offseason now. So they're like, okay, we got to pay Jevon, Holland. Jalen Phillips is going to be a free agent soon. Like, do we want to tie up some money into Christian Wilkins and Rob Hunt? When we got these other 2 studs, which maybe they valued more. I think they did. Because Jevon Holland before this season, super bright career, obviously had that amazing rookie campaign, right?
Yeah.
Now it's looking like we're probably not going to re-sign him. So that's $20 million about, that we're not going to invest into that safety room. Now you got Jalen Phillips. He's on the 5th-year option. You don't have to sign him just yet. That money's, going to be kicked down the road. I think now there is an opportunity to fix the line. I think there will be guys out there in free agency. I think the Dolphins can find a way through signing bonuses, through extensions to create more cap room. Part of it is with Tua. Do they want to do that? Probably not. They might want their out. But at the end of the day, this is do or die for Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. They're going to do whatever they can to make this year's roster the best they can, because this is, like I said, do or die. This is their last opportunity.
Okay, and I think that's actually a really solid point as to what the Dolphins should be doing and what they're likely to do are 2 different things.
And it might end up handicapping us for years to come. But
exactly. So, we have to take into consideration what is going on with Chris Greer and his profession. And he's going to do what's best for him first.
Of course.
And Mike McDaniel the same. what they're going to do is they're going to try to make it work with Tua because that is their best option to win now. Because even if you draft a rookie quarterback, he's still a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Then for a rookie quarterback to be highly successful while also paying a quarterback $50-something million a year is impossible. It's not going to happen. So what Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel will do with this draft is try to make this team the best it can be for this season.
Yeah.
Because if they can get into the playoffs next season and make some noise in the playoffs, now they've secured their job again and they can move forward.
Yeah.
But in reality, what the Dolphins should be doing, as an organization, would be to move those pieces, maybe restart again. That's probably the best route to go.
Like a soft restart, right? Like maybe move a couple of those guys to get some compensation, maybe start getting that youth in the building, because it's crazy. We were one of the youngest teams not too long ago. Now we're one of the oldest teams, right? With all the guys we had on the roster. There are some moves that we can make in the offseason, but one of them, like we've been talking about, is the Tyreek Hill situation. And I just wanted to comment. In a weird way, I think it's a great opportunity. Like what happened after this season, I feel like Tyreek Hill, his first 2 years in Miami, everything was all fun and games, Jim Dandy. Hey, bro, I'm Tyreek Hill. I'm getting 1,700 yards. I'm having my best years in Miami. Like, look at me. I'm number one in the NFL, like top rated guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they literally said he was the best player in the NFL. And that was not coming from fans. That was coming from NFL players, right? Right. This might be an opportunity for him to be like, I've been eating, crap. Let me be a true leader. Let me lead by example. Let me get it, because he might be one of the guys that Mike McDaniel's talking about. I think he is, right. That's always late. And
that's
all that
late
stuff.
I would say it's Tyreek. Yeah,
it's diva mentality. Maybe he's like, I'm gonna be the leader. I'm gonna will this team to the playoffs. I'm gonna show them what true work ethic is, and how to be a true professional off the field, and in the locker room, on the practice field, all that stuff. So a big thing this year was him not practicing. Maybe he goes in next year and he's like, no, I'm going to practice every week. Yeah. I'm going to make sure I have that connection with Tua, and we're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, and I think also there's going to be a transition with the way that Mike McDaniel, or at least should be, there should be a transition with the way that Mike McDaniel is coaching this team, the way that he's enforcing his policies. And, I've been seeing a lot of what Brian Flores did lately because of the Ryan Fitzpatrick comments on Brian Flores. And it's true. Look, I think there's a happy medium between a guy like Flores and McDaniel. Yeah. One is way too tough. The other one's way too soft on players. I'm not saying, as a person.
I feel like that perfect medium's Dan Campbell.
I can see that.
He looks like he gets in your face, but like he looks like he's like, yo, when you kick ass, I'm like, dude, I'm supporting you.
And I think really like the whole soft and tough, these words are thrown out a little bit too often without a lot of context. And the right word is really accountability. Mm-hmm. That's the right word, the accountability. Like that, to call a grown man soft and to do that, like, I think that is a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. I don't think we need to use that, but
I even saw that there was like a graphic, like 5 softest coaches in the NFL. Obviously McDaniel's number 1, but I'm like, what does that do? Like what does that even mean?
Like, come on, that's not really like, yeah, sure. If Mike McDaniel's in a street fight against Dan Campbell, I'm going Dan Campbell all the way. But it's not about that. Really, it's the accountability, I think, that needs to be enforced. Yeah. I think,
and it should start with your star players, because like it's enforcing the fact that obviously you're not a dictator like Flores is, exactly what Fitzpatrick said. But, you're like, hey, I don't care who you are. I am the leader of this team because I'm the coach. It starts from here, and then you're the example. And you have to set that example for all the guys that follow.
We're at the point in our team where if your actions continually lead to finable offenses, that you're telling me without words that you don't want to be here. So it's very clear. I think it's not an indictment necessarily of all, but we are subject to everyone's actions as a football team. We'll address those as such.
It starts with Tyreek. It starts with Tua. It starts with Waddle. Like, these guys that are your star players, And it's like, dude, you're not getting special treatment just because you're getting 1,700-yard seasons under me. Like, if you're in the doghouse, you're in the doghouse. Go sit down and, you know.
Well, I think that there needs to be so much more attached to these huge contracts that you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, and if it was me handing out that amount of money, because, you know, now we see these contracts and all this money that these players are getting, and we don't really put it into context, but, like, you should be getting paid not only for your performance on the field, but off the field, and what you're doing for the community and the example that you're setting for the roster and the example that you're setting for the community, kids that are coming up in the sport.
Yeah.
I think those are things that need to be looked at, and players need to take that accountability as well. Like Tyreek Hill, you're great on the field, but your behavior off the field needs to improve too, because you're getting this money. People are looking at you. You are under a microscope every single day.
Yeah.
And you are setting the example for the future. You're getting paid $30 million a year, bro.
Yeah, and for Stephen Ross, you're the face of my franchise. You're the face of my brand. So I don't want you doing stupid stuff. I want you to be a leader. I want you to be to set the example, like on and off the field. So there's guys that Ross is actually investing money in that are young, that are like, oh, this is just the way, like, the NFL environment is. Like, these guys do this. They go crazy. Like, whatever. It's okay. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can go out and party. I can have, like, 7, 8 baby mamas. Not saying that that's a terrible thing, but, like, you know, it could be a distraction, you know, because then you got them fighting over you, essentially. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. I just do feel like in this building there's no accountability. And I think you were starting to hear it from some of the Dolphins players at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Finally seeing that you're not going to make the playoffs, because maybe they would have made the playoffs and we would have kicked the can down the road for one more week, got blown out, and then they're mad again. You know what I'm saying? So whatever.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a hot mess over there.
If you guys haven't already, make sure to check out BetUS and use code YouTube150 for 150% bonus on your first deposit. That's YouTube150. Get started on BetUS today. But that's going to do it for today, guys. If you haven't already, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Fins up.